Uh, Good evening, everyone. Mainly, video is just going to be talking about thoughts on the pushback season and like not a recap, but an overview of some mall matches that happened. So, yeah. In the first one, I feel like just getting early control of goals this season is kind of important. Like, for example, if you have majority in one of the goals, you can just sit there. And if you get it early on, and I've also seen a few teams with what I'd say a wall mech, where it's just something I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but it's just a bar that goes up in front of the wall or at the end of the shoot. And I believe having that makes it near impossible for other teams to gain majority in your goal. So yeah, so far I feel that's just been incredibly important. I also, some teams I've noticed that have had color sort, I feel like that's worked pretty well for them. Um, I mean, mainly just in auto though, because in driver, 90% of the time you're just getting your blocks out of the match load. But I do believe that color sort this season is quite important. Right now we have two teams fighting over this bottom goal. One thing that that team did right now that was just interesting back here is they use the goal to help ram them into it and get it stuck. I'm not sure if that's damaging a field. I probably wouldn't recommend it against heavier bots, but I've noticed a decent amount of teams need to start if you're using not just the field perimeters, but also goals and other parts of the field to use it to help you get controlled. Like in this scenario, red could maybe try and get around like right here. Because if they have majority in this goal and control in these two, I feel like maybe if they've gotten like a solid amount of control over the middle, I feel like that would help by getting and making a wall. Similar to how a lot of teams did high stakes zone control. I feel like that may be a lot better for some teams or in certain scenarios rather than just trying to apply pressure everywhere. Red won that one, I think. So now for the next match. So into driver control, red already has a pretty large lead over blue, controlling both goals. Um, yeah, this one really isn't that exciting so far. Also, a lot of teams, I've seen a lot of people doing extra like weight savings or the multiple chambers, and I feel like that could be helpful. Also, the funnel design seemed like it's pretty good. Really, so far there doesn't seem to be that big of a meta. Another neat thing about 4 bar that some teams have is they have the ability to go everywhere in the field. So if 4 bar gets maybe a little better capacity or a little bit more consistent, I actually feel like later season it may be like better in certain scenarios because uh, one quadruple A is just able to like control more of the field but it really in this match doesn't seem to make that big of a difference just because red has basically a full goal and more overall blocks than the other alliance. So far in auto, uh, I feel like red has a pretty decent lead because like even like they have almost majority, like almost enough to hold a majority in the top one and in the bottom one they're doing pretty well. Um, yeah, so looking at it, red seems like they're already doing pretty well, but the blue alliance, I always like watching teams from the same organization on the same alliance because I feel like that's how sometimes we get like more unique strategies. Like right here, like while blue's behind, they had like instantly had that robot come over and that robot go over there. Yeah, I feel like you're gonna have to watch your opponent's match loads because if you can control your opponent's match loads, there really isn't that many out on the field at a time. So yeah, if you can watch the match loads, you can hold them back. I believe starvation actually is kind of a good strategy this season, like preventing your opponents from not filling their what's it called? From not filling their intakes up. But like by doing that, you're also wasting time in your goals. So I feel like yeah, if you get control of both your opponents' match loaders and you have goal majority, there's really nothing they can do. And I feel like if you have an intake with higher capacity, like I said earlier, like zone coverage actually isn't too terrible. Like if you have enough to get majority on both robots, like all you need is really 8, I think, to get majority. If you have your 8 over here, then like if Blue Alliance both filled up 8 at the start of the match and they go over here, Red can't really do much because Blue can get majority. Yeah, 4th seed one. And Red could have, like, they would barely have any blocks. But I feel like in the starvation sense, primarily horde bots, I don't see them doing too well this season because of how, like, if you want to win in a Vex competition, you need to score points. Like, every year there's like a really good defensive robot, but if you can't score points, there's not really much you can do. Like, for example, like, I'm trying to remember what season it was, but I feel like I mainly noticed this more in middle school. A lot of teams try and be competitive with defensive robots, and I don't feel like that's the right option because then even like in skills, you can't perform as well as the team with a mainly offensively designed robot. Yes, in a match you may perform slightly better, but Like if you're at the point where you believe your best competitive scenario in a competition is a defensive robot, then I feel like you really don't need to worry about competition standings because really in a lot of regional competitions, all you need to do to qualify for worlds or states is have a good skills score. Like there is one team a couple years back in my region who wasn't even within like top 30 tournament rankings, but they were like top 5 skills. And because of that, they got worlds qualified. And I believe that's what a lot of teams don't notice is notebook and skills are what you need to get to worlds. If you're trying to qual for worlds off tournament champions, then most of the time you already have an incredibly high skills ranking due to the better teams normally prioritizing that at regional competitions, or at least to a point where they can be quite competitive. I think Red won this one. Well, this camera is a little blurry. So, yeah, in auto, the hoppers normally seem to do well in auto. I'm not sure if 6842K's intake there, whether it was a jam or like them waiting for it, but either way, I feel like capacity still is quite important. I also feel like wedges may become like better as the season goes on and like strategy comes on. I also feel like at the start, I'm guessing this team is going to go down here and stop them because they don't want six this team to outtake all of it. But it looks like they're intake jams, so I'm guessing they're fine anyways. But I really feel like something you need to watch is like how much the other team has in their intakes. Like if their intake was fully functioning, they could have gotten control because 295Y would only have to intake would go have to go intake while this team would have had plenty to gain majority and then sit there. So yeah, I feel like you need to like watch stuff like that. Also, I feel like the main thing that wins you competitions are like the little things. Like especially like later in the season, unless you have like a really highly competitive, like mind-bogglingly good robot, you need to have like smaller things to win you tournaments. Like for example, this team right here. Like there's a lot of teams who I'd say have a similar, if not maybe in some scenarios slightly better 4-bar robot, but they're just a little bit more prepared. Like when their thing goes up, you see the wheels drop out from the back, and it's just the testing and the like preparing that helps you win competitions. Don't think this one looks too good for red. Alright, in this next match we have Power Beans and a China team against like uh, two American teams. I feel like one thing that sometimes makes China quite competitive is they always normally try to build like a robot site anyone can pick it up and perform decently at a competition at it. While in America, I feel like by going through, we have more of like a notebook emphasis, more of a like code and driver emphasis. While China teams, I notice they always have such similar designs to each other, where like China more prioritizes like robot performance and consistency. I think red wins auto here. Also, pushback this year. I think the games, it's okay. I believe that more of a varied game would be a better option for this year's game. Like something along the lines of maybe spin up where there's three things you need to build your robot to do. I feel like that really helps like provide diversity, such as like when you're under in this year's game, really it's just build a long intake, have decent capacity, have good speed, and then you're gonna perform well. While yeah, in spin up there was like roller tech, there was like sling, fly, kata, really just a decent grouping of everything. And in high stakes you had wall stakes and goals and ladder. Well, this year parking, yes, it does provide another element, but by adding that, really all you need is some sleds. Like probably looking at like the teams in this match who are able to park. If they wanted to park, it probably only took them, like my guess, 15 minutes max to build a mech to park with. If you don't have to change and you're planning with it. Also, I noticed a few teams had wall riders on this year for this year's game. Uh, if you're a newer team and you're trying to find ways to improve your bot, like right before your first competition, wall riders are relatively inexpensive and normally perform well. I recommend personally, uh, with the gears you want to uh, file down the outside teeth. Um, and by filing down the outside teeth, you can help like burn down all of the like pointy bits, help prevent you from getting stuck on walls because sometimes we still got stuck a few. And by and a quick easy way to do that is you just get a high strength axle, put it on a drill, and you can file them down in probably like a minute max. Well, if you had to do it by hand, who knows how long that would take. After this last round of 16 match, I'm probably just going to go do finals because this video is already starting to run a little long. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. Any thoughts are always accepted. Yeah, red looks like they have auto. But yeah, like that team over in the bottom left corner got rushed on their way to go score or get blocks for their intake, and that slowed them down. Hopper design looks like it performs well, but our team, we aren't running a like that type of hopper. So if any team would be willing to like talk about their thoughts on it, that'd be appreciated. Because it looks like it performs well. Right now, it's looking pretty comfortable for red. I'm also curious how the meta is going to turn around this like the rest of the year. It may be something similar to like over under, who knows? Like maybe starvation becomes better, like slight little match loading becomes better, or the meta could really not change that much. I'm curious to see how it pans out. And now we go to finals. That is also interesting how finals turned out being seed 1 and 2. Yeah, I feel like in this scenario, if you were to make like a wall mech to cover up the ends, that would be better because, like, yes, right now in this scenario, BarkBots has to hold it, but even if they have to turn around on their intake, that's still a bit more difficult for them. And when you're behind, really, in any game, you have to do something to get yourself an advantage. Because if they stayed, oh, is that tipping? Probably going to try and untip them. Oh, they're stuck. Um, but yeah, if you're trying to make yourself an advantage, you need to like take slightly more risky options, such as providing them like offense in a place that you weren't providing yet. And by being adaptable, that's what a lot of teams do that helps them perform well. That seems closer, but it looks better for blue. So to finish things off, thank you if you made it to the end. And thoughts on pushback, any ideas would be nice. Have a good day.